Let's talk about color grading footage from the Sony FX3 and A7S III. So ever since getting started with filmmaking, I've been trying to achieve the most film-like look possible. Now, I know that can be a little bit challenging, especially with today's modern digital cameras and modern lenses. Everything tends to have this quite clinical and digital look, and I just really want to try to get away from that and get a more film-like look to my footage. Now, I've done a number of things to achieve this look, like adding black pro mist filters to soften the image, adding film grain in post, and even filming with lenses that have a more vintage film-like look to them, such as the SLR Magic Microprime Cine lenses. But color grading is what really makes all of this stuff come together to create that final look. And lately, a lot of people have been asking me how exactly I color grade my footage, so I'm going to tell you exactly how I go about doing that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that I just do it 100% from scratch, do it all by myself, because I don't. I do use LUTs, and I know using LUTs is kind of a controversial topic. A lot of people think that you shouldn't be using LUTs, and they're just the lazy way to go about color grading your footage. But using LUTs can be very beneficial to your workflow and for your projects. Now, I've used a ton of different LUTs over the years, and I've actually created some of my own LUTs for you to use as well. But I'm going to be talking about a very specific set of LUTs that I do use, and that is the Phantom LUTs from Joel Fumalaro. Joel is a cinematographer that absolutely has a love for film and definitely the film look. And he spent a ton of time creating a set of LUTs that both emulate the RE look as well as some traditional film stock looks that are some of the most widely used and popular film stocks around. And before I go a bit further into this on how I use his LUTs and fine-tune things to get my final look, I just want to mention that this video here is not sponsored by Joel or Phantom LUTs. I've just found these LUTs to be some of the best LUTs around that really do help achieve that film-like look or even the RE camera look. So that is why I absolutely use these for most of my projects today. So let's jump on over to the computer here and show you some examples of how I've used these LUTs to color grade my footage. So to show you some examples here, I'm going to be looking at a few music videos I've shot and posted here on the channel before, as well as some footage I shot for another client of mine, a personal trainer who created a fitness masterclass. So as with any LUT, they are not meant to be 100% just drag and drop. So I would never just put my footage in the timeline and add the LUT on it and call it a day, because 9 out of 10 times, it's not going to be exactly what it should be for your footage. It's not going to do exactly what you want it to. Depending on how you shoot your footage or expose it, just adding LUTs on top can have wildly different effects. As I mentioned in a previous video, there are multiple ways you can shoot footage on the FX3, and one that I use all the time is shooting in S-Log3. And like I mentioned in that video, with S-Log3, you can do a number of things from underexpose a bit to expose properly or even overexpose. So depending on how you expose your footage, you're most likely going to have to adjust your footage a bit to finesse the look. So if you want to see the proper breakdown of how exactly I expose and shoot with S-Log3, you can just click on this card right up here to check out that full video. So I typically add my footage into my timeline and immediately add one of the LUTs from the Phantom LUTs pack. Now I tend to use Jamaica a lot, which provides a green and gold cast, giving distinctive rich filmic greens and a beautiful golden skin tone. From there, I like to adjust exposure a bit until I get where I want, drop the contrast a bit, and then I usually head on over to my color wheels and play around some more there. I typically like to bring down the highlights a bit, up the shadows a bit, and even bring down the midtones the most. I really do like that naturalistic look, and I typically like the slightly more underexposed look overall. So that's why I try to bring down the overall exposure a bit without having crushing shadows or highlights. So this is what I do on most of my projects, and it really is dependent on the specific video or the specific tone or vibe I'm going for, but I typically do this workflow right over here. I used to drop on a Rec. 709 conversion LUT first and then use these LUTs here with it, but I would have to dial back the intensity quite a bit. I'd have to drag it all the way down to something like 20 or 30%. But then I found by just putting these LUTs directly on the footage without a Rec. 709 conversion, that actually worked out quite well. So I just had to really play around with, like I mentioned, the contrast, the exposure a bit, the whites, the blacks, highlights, shadows, midtones, all of that, just to really finesse and fine-tune the look. But it's not 100% necessary to be converting to Rec. 709 first before using these Phantom LUTs. Now, before I show you a few more examples of footage that I've color graded with these LUTs over here, I just want to take a moment to talk to you about this shirt right over here from Cuts. Now, if you are a filmmaker like me, and I'm sure you are if you're watching this video right over here, you're going to be interested in Cuts clothing because they have just continued to create and provide the best clothing for filmmakers and content creators. Now, why do I say that? That's because these clothes have been so comfortable while looking so good, so stylish while I'm on location filming for my clients. The two most important things to me when I'm on a job are looking good, looking respectable, and being comfortable. Now, with Cuts Clothing, they've got you covered for both of those things, and they offer a huge variety of clothes that you will enjoy and love. They mostly started out with tees and sweaters, but they've expanded their offering to pants, shorts, and even these short sleeve shirts like this over here. If you've been watching my other recent videos lately, you'll have noticed that I've been wearing this shirt and a black one quite a bit lately. And that's because I absolutely love these shirts. It's a nice button-up shirt that looks fantastic that you can wear when you are at work, when you're on location filming, and even if you're just going out and about to enjoy dinner at night. So if you want to check out this new collection of clothes that they have on their website, just head on over to the link down below in the description to save 15% off your entire order. So if you look at another example over here, this is just a little bit of a different exposure. The previous shot I showed you was a little bit darker overall, and I really wanted that super dark moody look. But with this shot over here, this scene, it's a little bit brighter, a little bit more of a happy, fun mood or atmosphere or vibe to it. So I wanted to go a little bit brighter with the exposures here. But as you can see, there's a lot of leeway here with dragging the exposure. If I want to bring it down, I want to bring it up. So we can still play around with that quite a bit after having added the LUT on here. And everything still does look fantastic. It really does look great. So these LUTs really have been designed to work as best as possible with footage shot on the Sony FX3 or the A7SIII, and it really does work well with how those sensors of the cameras do capture the footage, especially in S-Log3. As you tend to push things a bit, if you're going a little bit dark or a little bit bright, the LUT doesn't really fall apart. A lot of LUTs do start to fall apart. You'll start to see a lot of artifacting and pixelation in a lot of the different areas of your scene or of your shot, but with Joel's LUTs, I rarely have that problem. And it just always looks fantastic, I think, no matter what I do to my footage. And even if I do add film grain on top, that just kind of completes the look. It kind of makes it look even better. So I really like the filmic look and filmic quality of the LUTs that Joel has created here with this Phantom LUT pad. And let's just look at another example right over here, just to again show you something a little bit different. This is some footage from my friend Anthony's masterclass that I shot that again has a bit of a different vibe and feel and tone than the other videos I just showed you. So we still wanted that naturalistic look to it. We still didn't want it to be overly bright, but definitely not as dark and moody as, say, the first music video that I showed you over there. So again, we can just play around with the exposure a bit. We can still play around with those midtones, the highlights, the shadows, just to kind of finesse them and fine tune them to bring everything down to how we want to, but it really does get this nice, even, soft gradation of light across each shot over here. So what I really do like I said, about these LUTs here is that there is a ton of room for you to play around with it and to really finesse it to get your shot to look exactly what you want to. It's not just a drag and drop solution. It's not meant to be that. So take your time, play around with it, finesse it, and don't just expect it to be 100% exactly where you want it to be just by dropping it on your footage. So if you want to check out this LUT pack, I'm going to link to it down below in the description. And again, I am in no way affiliated with Joel, Phantom LUTs. This is not sponsored. I'm just promoting something that I use all the time on a lot of my projects that I really feel like helps bring my work to the place where I want it to be. And I really think this is something that you're going to enjoy and will help take your footage to the next level.